My true awakening came when I faced my own life story. I lost my father when I was 12, and my life changed overnight. 23 years later, my life changed again when I reconnected with him through a spiritual medium. Destiny, the afterlife, living our soul's purpose. These are the source of some of life's biggest questions. I'm Robyn, and for the last 20 years, I've spent my career seeking those answers. As part of Oprah Winfrey's team, I've worked with and learned from some of the most brilliant thought leaders of our time. My own spiritual experiences changed my life and helped me understand my path to help seekers like me, help seekers like you, find your life's purpose.
Hi, seekers. We're so glad you've joined this conversation. As we navigate a new normal in the United States and around the world, many of us are asking some big life questions. Like, why is this happening? How long is this going to last? And what can we do? So I come to you as your host, guide, as well as an intuitive and a spiritual medium. And today I am honored to introduce you to my spirit squad. These are gifted healers and teachers that I also call my friends. There are more magical people that you will meet in coming weeks and months. But when it came to trying to make sense of what is going on right now in our world, these were the first people that I called. They're going to bring us insights and channeled messages to give us all hope. Hi, squad.
Hi, Robyn.
Hi, Robyn.
Hello.
I'm so honored to have you all here today. And first, I'm going to start with Karen Loenser, who is my producing partner and a seeker just like you and me.
Thank you, Robyn. I am so honored to be here with you and this team of incredible women. I've spent most of my career in the TV and digital production world, most recently at Discovery, where Robyn and I met working on a project for Oprah, when we realized that we shared the dream of bringing shows like this to the world. My spiritual journey actually began sitting around my family's kitchen table, meeting my mom's friends who were astrologers and mediums and energy healers, sharing fascinating conversations just like we're about to have today. Like you and so many, I've been a seeker for most of my life, and I've had transforming experiences that have shown me that there are so many spiritual modalities at our fingertips that can be life-changing as well as life-supporting, and can literally help transform lives. So launching this group, this conversation, is like coming home again. So I'm excited to partner with Robyn on this show to help produce conversations like this that I believe are so wanted and needed around the world, especially now.
Thanks, Karen. And now we're going to go to Allison Feehan.
Hi, how are you? My name is Allison Feehan. I'm located here in Bay Head, New Jersey, and I am a natural health practitioner. I am an intuitive. Some call me a medical intuitive. And I am also a Reiki master teacher. So I wear many hats, but my journey began when I was just 4 years old. I kind of went out into the muggle world for a little while and had a corporate job for a while, but then kind of opened my own practice and decided to follow this path. So thank you so much for having me today.
I'm so happy to see your face.
Thank you.
And now we'll talk to Michelle Brock.
Hi, my name is Michelle Brock, and I am a spiritual life coach who specializes in past life regression. I'm also an intuitive, a student of shamanism and energy medicine techniques from different parts of the globe, and I'm excited to be part of this amazing group. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And let's go to Stevie Knispel.
Hi, friends. I'm Stevie Knispel. I am an astrologer. I give birth chart readings and transit chart readings to people to help them realize why they are the way that they are and accept themselves truly for that. And I also do readings where I give information about the energies that they're going through and the phase of life that they're in. And I'm really excited to be here to talk about what is going on with our planets right now.
We're excited to hear what you have to say. And let's go to Jena Coray.
Hi, I'm Jena Coray, and I'm an energy worker and an intuitive coach, and I help people really learn how to integrate and incorporate energy work and spiritual practice into their everyday busy lives as stressed out people like we are now. So I have some tips to share that I'm excited to with all of you.
Yay. And let's go to Lisa Rose Nitzkin. And Lisa, tell us, tell us who you are and what you do. And then why don't we kick things off and tell us what messages you've been receiving about this time.
Okay, thank you, Robyn. I am Lisa Rose Nitzkin. I am an intuitive counselor and a spiritual medium. And I've come to these titles after my mom died when I was 7 years old. I've spent the past 36 years trying to figure out what happens after we die and what happens in the afterlife. I've been able to connect with my mom, which has been the catalyst to help me connect to the other side. And so it's been my life's purpose to help people who have lost loved ones, to help them heal, and most importantly, to validate that there really is no death and that our souls still remain. I truly believe this is a time of intense introspection. And I think that it's a time for us to get out of our brains and egos and rely heavily on our soul's guidance. We need to realize that there is really a bigger picture to this chaos. This is that time to go inward. You know, people always ask me, why do tragedies happen? Why do tsunamis, floods, fires? Why do these things happen? And I always come back to the same knowing. And that knowing is that when these events occur, it literally means that it's supposed to burn and wash and terminate old negative energy and all that negative energy that no longer serves us, to bring in a renewed flow of light and balance and so much positive change. One thing I have been meditating on and hearing is that from my higher guides is hearing that this is going to help our school systems. All these kids that have had social anxieties and ADHD and OCD, etc. Finally, I think that there's going to be a way for us to help these kids learn better through e-learning. We have such an old paradigm of teaching with school, and it's time for us to make that change. And I think this is going to be something that's going to come out of that. It's just going to be a time to learn coping skills, which is huge for mankind as well. I think that we have a problem with anxiety and depression in this country. And in a strange way, I think getting in touch with ourselves and being present and getting really still will be a time to help with that anxiety. We don't have the pressures anymore of, at least during this time, of running around and making sure that we're getting all of our chores done and that we're making sure we're getting all of our kids to school on time. There's something really beautiful about getting still and getting into a place of authenticity where we don't have to prove ourselves to anybody. With this virus and sort of stripping mankind clean, I also think Mother Nature is talking to us too. And I see Mother Earth sort of shaking itself and ridding of all of the toxins. And I think it's really going to help with that, which is going to be a positive thing. So also don't be surprised if you might see more of Mother Nature getting a little bit frisky with maybe some more floods and fires and earthquakes, but it's not to instill fear. I think this is actually part of a renewed sense of energy that we need to come in. I truly believe that our biggest blessings come out of the messiest situations, and it's up for us to choose to see it. And I believe that this is a time for us to really go deep within and see those blessings that can come out of this.
Thank you. And that was a lot. That was a lot. You definitely, I know, have been receiving these messages over the last few weeks. And I know also that you had been kind of receiving them even prior to that. Wouldn't you say, Lisa?
Yes, I do something called automatic writing, which is where I download information that I get from my higher self and from my spirit connection. And I've been writing since 2011, and there have been quite a few things in my entries about Italy and China and them being scared, and how that, you know, people are going to be going into isolation, which in turn really is not a bad thing. And the message I kept saying and writing was, this is all according to plan. So although it might feel really scary right now, I do believe there's a plan in place for this. So everything I wrote seems to kind of be coming to a head right now, which is fascinating on another level.
It is. And Michelle, what have you been receiving? Is it somewhat, or some of the themes that Lisa was talking about, have those come through as well?
Absolutely. I agree with everything that she said. A lot of what she said kind of dovetails on what I've been picking up on. And, you know, being an expert in past lives and reincarnation, obviously my viewpoint is going to be, you know, what is happening at this time in history, right? Looking at the larger journey we've had as one humanity over many lifetimes. And the thing that's coming to me the strongest, and this is based on, you know, watching people have experiences, having them experience memories from their past lives in connection to how that past life connects with their life today and what they're being called to let go of, to heal, to understand, to bring more in. And I think that it comes down to, we're being asked to change our values as a society. We're being asked to evolve and step up and grow. And I agree with what you say about Mother Nature. I mean, we're being pushed and pulled to really just pay attention to the fact that we've got to create a shift. We've got to change. We've got to change the way that we've been doing things. Our system doesn't work. And this is collectively, this is personally and collectively. That's kind of how I work as a life coach, where, you know, how can I as an individual contribute to the change? And this social isolation thing, I live in New York City. It's weird. I look out the window and I don't see people walking down the street. That's such an unusual thing. It's quiet even too. Everybody's being asked to kind of go within. I agree with exactly what you said, this introspection, like, you know, what are we here to do at this time on planet Earth? And what are we being pushed and called to step into? What's coming next, right? We're being asked to all stay home, but at the same time, find ways to connect with each other and do it out of love. We're being asked to stay home to protect each other too. It's an act of love to isolate from each other. So kind of to go within and learn how to care about each other, right? You know, create a more equal society. We're talking about resources, things that are not fair, right? Like some of us that are, you know, have more, can we give more to help people? And I agree, it's natural disasters. I think this virus is also connected to the climate changes. I think that unfortunately things might get worse before they get better because we're stubborn as human beings. We need to be pushed to change. But, you know, going back to, like, we have to reevaluate our entire value system. That's the message that I'm getting really kind of loud and clear, and both personally and collectively.
Michelle, can I just ask a question about past lives? Does any of this past life memory that we keep within ourselves, within our souls, is that triggered by things like this?
Sure. People who have particularly strong reactions to things, right, or fears. I have a child who's a germaphobe, and this is killing him. You know, it's forcing him to really kind of like reevaluate what that phobia is and what that means. But you know, we're also talking about how things are cyclical, right? And I don't think that this is going to be nearly as bad as the Great Plague in the Middle Ages, but after the plague came the Renaissance, you know, that's kind of how it was, right? And I don't, like I said, I don't think it needs to be that dramatic, but, you know, through trial and, you know, like you said, these individual past life memories, we also have these collective past life memories about where we're going and how we're evolving. Did that answer your question? I hope.
Yeah, well, and I think what, you know, many people may not realize that we have past lives. And that's why talking to you is so important.
Yeah.
Because I think most of us on this call know that we are this soul
right,
that's living in a body, but the soul has traveled many, many times. And so we kind of chose to be in this lifetime, you know, or at least that's what I believe. We chose to be in this lifetime for a reason altogether, right? To learn.
And history repeats itself, and there's always clarity, you know, in hindsight. So being able to open that picture, to a larger big picture view. This is kind of collectively, not just in this body right now, but as a soul, we're collectively learning to evolve. And there are lessons about love, there are lessons about equality, like I said, changing our value systems. I mean, that's just really kind of how I'm approaching this, and kind of what my perspective of it is. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Stevie, do you want to bring us kind of that astrological perspective?
Each planet has a different energy, and we currently have Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, and the South Node all in Capricorn. And honestly, February 16th is when Mars, which is the planet of our drive, our action, it's masculine energy, it's like very physical. On February 16th, it moved into Capricorn. And so it really set off like what was already kind of just like Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn are really asking us to let something die. It's like breaking down all of our systems, all of our structures. It's earth energy. It's our political system, our economy. And Mars moving in there was like the catalyst to be like, okay, well, this is the big thing one of the big things that's going to happen this year. So as Mars is moving through Capricorn, he's really activating all of the outer planets. And that just basically means that we really feel them more. So I want to say, as far as like a big picture view, because I'll break down a little bit like what dates, so you guys can understand like when peaks of this are going to happen and when we're going to start seeing some relief. But big picture view is that we're starting a new 200-year cycle right now. It starts in December. Let me look. It is actually December 1st is when we have Saturn and Jupiter moving together. And that is a really big deal. So I'm sorry, December 21st in 2020 of this year. So we are moving out of Earth energy. This is an elemental cycle, 200-year chunk. We're moving out of Earth energy, which is materialism, economy, capitalism, and we're moving into air. We're moving into Aquarius, which is, innovation, humanity, community, friendship. And so this is a really big deal. This 200-year cycle is a really important move for us, and we are the seeds for the future right now. And so what is happening is our systems and structures are being destroyed, and Pluto is death, and he is also pandemics and plague and all of these things.
This is crazy.
Yeah. And when Jupiter comes in, he's the planet of expansion, and he makes things bigger and more intense, but also for the greater good. So it's to expand our thinking. And we need to have this right now in order to like change ourselves. Like you guys were saying earlier, is we are really being asked to like relax because we're in burnout mode, to rest. And I think that this is forcing us to do that as well. As far as like the dates go, there's a lot of them, and I'm not going to like overwhelm you guys with all of them. But honestly, we have Mars and Jupiter hitting the same degree on March 20th, which is tomorrow. And from that time all the way until March 31st, we have a bunch of planets like smashing together, like hitting together in degrees, which just means their energies are colliding and they're setting off each other's energy. So in my opinion, as far as like looking at the astrological planet timing, I feel like March 31st is going to be our low point. And even from tomorrow until the 31st, we're going to start seeing more fear and more paranoia. Like the virus spreading more, it's really in activation mode right now. So, and the 31st is when we see Mars and Saturn hit each other in Aquarius. So this is the first little glimpse we have of this new elemental cycle that's going down. And basically what that means is we're going to start changing the way we look at things, like really start looking at more of collective energy. And we've obviously started to see glimpses of this, like helping your neighbor and taking care of each other and staying inside so you can protect the collective. Like that's what this is all about. And we're being forced into seeing why. So March 31st, I would say is the low point in all of it. And then even the few days after. And then after that, we're going to start seeing a shift. So that being said, I personally feel like when Mars moves into Pisces, which is May 13th, is when we're going to kind of be out of this completely, or at least like not in the fear state. And I also feel like the beginning, as April moves on, we're going to start, it's not going to be the scary bits. We're going to start realizing like what we can do with this and how we can change our future and what it all means. We're going to start seeing the light more, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's a lot going on right now, but we really are like this tiny little seed. We're like at the very end of this chapter, of this earth chapter, and we're moving into air, which we need so badly. We need to, you know, the higher side of Aquarius is like human, like shining your own light, which is the Leo, the opposite of Aquarius. And how can you shine your own light into the collective? So my advice really is, how can you help the collective right now by shining your own light? What can you contribute to help everybody? And that's what's going to get us through this. And that's really what the planets are asking of us. And they're forcing us because we need it, you know?
Wow.
So.
I mean, it's just incredible to me every time I talk to you, no matter what's going on personally in my life. And now we're looking at this on a much wider scale, right?
Yeah.
How much the planets back up they validate what is going on, and like the specificity that you just gave with those dates and how that lines up. And I think what we're all hearing so much about from wherever our news sources are, that is pretty unbelievable. I'm just kind of blown away. And I know that when Stevie and I talked recently, and you'll be able to hear her podcast along with everyone else on here in coming weeks, you talked about that breakdown, right? Mm-hmm. That breakdown in 2020 to build up and this whole shift. And I don't think that any of us realized the kind of breakdown. And then to what Michelle and Lisa have been talking about, even from a Mother Nature perspective.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Well, the thing about that too that's really interesting is we have Uranus, who is the planet of electricity. He's like our nervous system. He's change. He's disruption. He's earthquake. Has moved into Taurus last year. And so that's Earth, and Taurus literally rules Mother Nature. And so when they come together, like Lisa was saying, you are going to see fires, earthquakes. I mean, we are being disrupted and being really shown like we can't do it like this anymore. It's not going to be sustainable for our children's children. And if we care about that at all, then we have to really recreate new systems. Like even our political systems right now aren't going to work. This is not going to work. Like we clearly see, like, so we have to, we really have to be innovative, which is Aquarius, like Saturn and Aquarius. We have to be innovative in our ways of going about that and thinking about what new systems do we want for our children's children. You know, we're like, our souls chose this time to like really be the builders. And I think that's really important to remember.
Yes, I agree. And Allison, what have you been hearing and what kind of advice do you have for all of us as a holistic practitioner and a medium and an intuitive?
Yeah, so, you know, I too, like Lisa, I've been receiving message for a while. If you go to my Instagram on December 31st, before we came into 2020, I gave a little brief reading to anybody that kind of wanted to hear it. And I did, I dove into the fact that we're not going to love to see what we're seeing right now. We're going to see a lot of aha moments, a lot of corruption, a lot of political shifts. We saw a ton of that in the first 2.5 months, right? We saw big pharma issues. We saw like civil unrest. So we're starting to see all of that. Who knew it would come in the way of an actual pandemic in our entire, you know, in our lifetimes, right? None of us have seen this, but you know, having known that and predicted that, I think right now, the messages that I keep getting are to not live in the fear, right? Fear energy is such a low vibration. And for us to live in low energy like that is just going to breed more of this pandemic's energy to kind of spread at a quicker rate. So believe in your immune system, believe in the health that you have, believe in the love, and continuously practice gratitude every day. Be thankful for what you have. You know, raise your vibration any way you can. Eat clean food as best that you can. Move every day. Get some exercise. Epsom salt baths. Sleep. Rest is good. You're given permission to rest and kind of reflect inward. And, you know, this reflection is not easy for a lot. My phone has been blowing up since this has really kind of taken a peak in February. And the reason for that is a lot of people are not used to sitting with their own thoughts. They're not used to kind of being in their own pain for a period of time. You know, they're used to distraction. They're used to the busy New York City streets. They're used to just leaving their house whenever they feel like it, having alcohol, having drugs, you know, just doing whatever it is that they want. And they've been forced now to kind of just, you know, turn inward and deal with that. So I think it is going to get worse before it gets better. I think we're going to see a lot of post-traumatic stress come out of this. And I don't want this to sound negative. It's just what is, right? This is a shedding process. We kind of have to deal and find beautiful coping mechanisms for this, or we will physically feel it, right? So we need to stay committed to ourselves, the commitments we made to ourselves and the society, to each other, continuously check in with each other. And, you know, be still and kind of look at this as a new beginning, as a shedding, right? So Mother Earth has given us quite a few warnings in the way of earthquakes and fires. And, you know, the warnings are all of what needs to happen in order for it to cleanse. So I as much as this seems like a scary time in our lives, I think we need to just remember that we hold the power to raise our vibrations and collectively come together and be there for each other and shine light in dark places and say, we're going to be okay. We're going to get past this. So that's, you know, thank you for letting me speak my, you know, messages that have been coming through and how to kind of cope with it in a good way. Meditation is profoundly moving and super special to be taking advantage of that time right now to connect.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what we resist persists, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so it is that acceptance of going inward, which you're all saying, and I know we're going to get to Jena as well, but you are all saying that, and even from an astrological perspective, right? And that idea of shedding, of breaking down and shifting, it's like, it's in the stars and it's also in what you're receiving. It's so validating to hear all of this from all of you. And so Jena, let's talk to you. And from an energetic perspective, let's hear what you have to say.
Transformation is happening. Like I've been waiting for the structures to break down. I've been waiting for the breakdown. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but it's happening. And this is our chance to rebuild, to recreate the new earth. Like already new things are happening that from this chaos, from the, like, just the restructuring of things. Like there's already aid being sent out, money being sent out. There's like unemployment is getting restructured. There's healthcare is going to be restructured. School systems are going to be restructured. Like the external environment is really just a reflection of our own internal environment. So this feels to me like a manifestation. The virus is like a manifestation of the infection that all of us already have in us. It's the fear and the anxiety and the sludge, the gunk that is already in us. And whatever is coming up in you from this, if you're feeling anxious, are you feeling fearful of death? Are you feeling fearful of like a loss of control? Are you fearing the unknown? Like, are you anxious? Are you like, whatever it's bringing up in you was already in there. It was already in there. It's not this that's causing it. It's already in there. And this is the catalyst to like bring it up and out. And we have to like we have to sit with ourselves. Millions of people are getting laid off. All of this chaos is happening, but they're going to be able to maybe come to an understanding of like what their actual purpose of life is. And like things are changing. It's going to flip the world over. On the surface level, it feels really, really scary, but that's only the surface level. It's like a wound. When you have a wound, in order to clear, it's going to bring up all the pus and the gunk and scab and blood, and you're going to see on the surface like this disgusting thing, but underneath it, it's healing itself. Like the earth is healing itself. The virus is part of the earth. The virus is nature. Yes, like, as humans, we need like a real slap in the face to change things. And so this is our slap in the face to just be who we are, who we've always been.
It is. And I know you're so good at giving some tangible exercises to people. Is there one thing that you would tell people to do that are right now home and wondering what can they do for themselves during this time of recentering?
Definitely grounding practices, grounding exercises, even just right now, like taking a big deep breath and feeling your feet, connecting with your feet, like moving your feet around, and imagine that there's roots going down from your feet and like connect in with the earth.
I know I feel so fortunate to be in a home that has a lot of windows, and I am surrounded by nature. And I really know that not everybody is able to be surrounded by that. So if you're stuck at home right now in an apartment with several children around you and you're trying to get work done as well, I think it's to those people, how do you stay? And I think for some people, they don't even know what grounded means. So I know that you've been explaining it in different ways, but can you just tell people what you mean by grounding?
Grounding, basically sending your energy to connect down with the earth so that you feel the support of the earth. Being grounded is just like finding that center within yourself where no matter what chaos is going on around you, like I feel like I have this balance within me that no matter what is going on externally, I can find balance. I can connect with balance. I can connect with peace. I can connect with joy, like, because it's in there. And then I think it's going to help people understand that it's in here. Freedom is in here. Joy is in here. Peace is in here.
That's really helpful. I mean, I just think that some people just never even heard the term. So that's why I feel like it's just to help define it. I know it's so part of our world, but I'm hoping that this video reaches people who may not have heard it before. And so now they get it, you know, and I think this idea of the invisible, the virus is invisible. So is good energy, right? That is around us too. And there's this energy around us from beyond, you know, that if people can accept that the virus is invisible, there's so much light that's out there that we can also attract. So I think that starting to change our mindset to start to notice what you feel around you is really important.
I also think it's interesting that it's a virus. I feel like I was thinking the other day, like, how are our systems and structures going to break down? But of course, it's something where it can affect anybody. Like there's no color, there's no race, there's no nothing. It's like it had to be like this world thing. And it makes sense that it's the virus, right? Like, because you can't run away from it and there's nothing that differentiates. It doesn't care, you know? So it's like the world coming together with this commonality. I think that's interesting that it ended up being a virus, which is Earth, like Jena was saying.
I agree. I think so too. And it's not just physical. It's going to create all these systems, as we talked about, and that shedding, right, and that rebuilding.
Yeah.
Will all be
and the opportunity too that it's giving us to go within, right? So we are a little bit isolated from each other, so we have to take that time to reset. And also it's giving us the chance to connect, right? I'm calling my mother every day. My daughter's calling me every day. It's so interesting, isn't it? How one thing can isolate us and give us opportunity, but also connect us to give us community.
One thing too, I wanted to say is like Saturn is isolation. Like Saturn is the planet of isolation and Aquarius is the planet of the internet and connection. So like those two, it's like the seed right now. Like it's going to be so helpful for us to grow into that energy. And we need the isolation, but the connection too. And I was thinking the other day too, how grateful I am that we live in a time where there's the internet.
As someone who does live in an apartment and can't often get out into nature, you know, one of the things that I'm suggesting to people is exactly what Karen mentioned, you know, check in with each other. We have, you know, FaceTime each other, really try to find like that place of grounding in our connection with each other. And I think that this is going to be on planet Earth, some sort of course correction some sort of new direction that we all need to take, but we all have to remember we're in it together. We can't allow this isolation to cut us off from the rest of humanity. And I think that we're finding new innovative ways to connect with each other, use technology, but really kind of focus on the global collective and staying connected with other people. I think that's a really powerful grounding technique. So.
I agree. And if I could just piggyback off of what Jena and you're saying, because when we talk about connecting and grounding ourselves, like Robyn was saying, not a lot of people understand what that means. The best way that I envision it is that the sun gives this earth, this entity, this live entity that we live on, this living, breathing earth, energy, right? A life source. That life source is supposed to fuel us all. So by connecting and grounding through your feet, you're tapping into this amazing, living, breathing, beautiful entity to give you power, to give you source energy, right? So when we live in an apartment and we can't do that, what it's forcing people to do is even be in their apartments and take their shoes off and walk around and mindfully connect. So, giving people tools to say, hey, just try it, right? You're home for 2 weeks in quarantine, take your shoes off, walk around, think about stuff that bothers you, process. Taking time to actually think about a thought, process it for a few minutes, that's still part of meditation, right? Is taking all of that in and having time to process this. We don't even like sometimes the emotions that are attached to that processing, but we have got to take the time to learn how to do that, right? So we all have gifts in this life, but what is your sweet spot, right? So we know what Jena's sweet spot is. Each one of us have talked about and introduced what our sweet spot is, but it's time for everybody out there, the seekers, to understand what their sweet spot is. What is your sweet spot? You have the time to find it.
Yeah, and this is the time. I agree. I think it's also, I was thinking about how with everything that everyone has said today, and with the time that most people now have, use it to create a vision board and connect and put those dreams out there, because this is that new beginning and it is being forced upon us. But I think if you can look at it and accept it and welcome it, you really may be able to live your happiest life several months from now. I mean, you can start now by just accepting it, but you really can then start to manifest what it is that you really want.
You might actually have new ideas, right? You might come up with some gorgeous ideas that you wouldn't have normally thought of. You might start actually dreaming, remembering your dreams.
Well, it's because we get to quiet, right? We get to reconnect with ourselves. It's reconnecting with our family. It's reconnecting with our friends through things like FaceTime and Google Chat and Zoom, and what I learned from my daughter, House Party, which is incredible. It's all of those. And that's the other part too. It's not only teaching our kids how to handle this time of more isolation from physically being with one another, it's also learning from our kids. I've learned so much even in the last few days from my daughter. I mean, obviously I learned, and we all do, from our children all the time. But, they actually are more connected than most of us.
Well, Robyn, I wanted to piggyback off of you, because I was thinking how, and I think I was trying to say this earlier, maybe it didn't come out as well, but it's no wonder that these kids have come in, these 2-year-olds who know how to navigate an iPad so much better than we did, because from a soul level, they're already equipped to handle it, because they've already been prepared for this in some energetic way. So they are teaching us, because we were not born with this brain that is so connected to the energy of the internet. And these kids are using it so easily because they already know from their own soul how to do it. So it's pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Right. You're right. And the one other thing I wanted to talk about before we all go is that, because this has come up with many of my friends that I'm actually on House Party or FaceTime with, but there is a sadness. There is a sadness. And I just want to acknowledge that, because I think it is, as we've all talked about today, it is this shedding, it is this breaking down of this old life, right? Of what was going on, these old structures. And sometimes my friends can't even explain why all of a sudden they start to get emotional. And I know Lisa and I were talking about this over the last few days, and I think you put it this way, which was, it's this grieving of an old life. And there is some grief in order to get to this next level. And I wanted to know if you all had thoughts on that, because I've been experiencing that myself.
Yeah, I believe that this is really a rebirth. So you're really kind of letting go of an old life. And there is a lot of sadness to that. And I think it's really important to honor that grief, move through it, because it is real.
Well, and there's such a fear of the unknown, right? So a lot of us that are, as Robyn was saying, having emotional moments with it is because they're so afraid of what's to come. They didn't plan this, right? So they, that's why people come to see psychics and intuitives and mediums, right? They want to have a sense of control and feel that there's a sense of okayness at the end of this. So, and what I always like to say is, if you don't make changes, the universe will push you into oncoming traffic. We've all been pushed into oncoming traffic. So
that would be Saturn and Pluto. They're going to
right. I'm like, okay, I guess we're just going to we're going to do this. So,
and I love the perspective that Stevie gave us, so that this is a larger cycle. This is a 200-year cycle that we're entering into. This is big change.
It's so important too, because it's at 0 degrees Aquarius where Saturn and Jupiter are coming together. Like, this is big. It's really big. And it's an elemental shift. It's this really big, there is such an earthy, grieving, breaking down death that's happening. And I think, everyone has been saying, it's so important to allow yourself to feel it. And we're all, every human is somewhat empathetic and can feel energy, whether they know it or not. So we're all feeling into the collective, and it's sad. People are struggling, they don't know how to pay their bills. And this is a really hard time for so many people. Yeah.
I love what she just said. And it just, the light bulb in me just went off as well. We all talk about ascension and moving from 3rd density to 4th density, right? And I don't want to get too, in the weeds with this, but when she talks about earth and then moving into air, right? 3rd density beings, right? We're all about control and power. And we've been living out of this chakra for a really long time, this bright yellow, powerful chakra. And now we're moving up to 4th density, which is green, which is the heart, right? And it's air, it's much lighter. It's what Stevie's talking about. We go from control and materialistic things into this sense of love and compassion and things that are more emotional and less materialistic. So I had to point that out, because it was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly what Stevie just said.
Right. Also the fact that the virus is a pulmonary, lungs, that's where we hold our grief, that's where we hold sadness. So even just the idea of it is clearing that out, because you have to clear out the grief and the sadness to be able to connect with the heart space, that openness of heart space. And also the sadness is a tunnel, the fear is a little gateway into an open heart, into a heart that feels more compassionate, into a heart that understands what other people are going through and has empathy and cares about other people in a different way. Some of the negative emotions, I don't even like calling them negative, because they're like freeways leading us to the light, back to the truth. And it's a heart opener. So it's to let go, to let yourself cry, to let yourself feel the grief and move through it.
Yeah. And we're, not to add another life, death, and rebirth analogy here, but we're in a birth canal, right? Where the pressure is intense and we think we're dying. We're not. We're being reborn, and we're doing it collectively. And it is tense. And I agree. There's a lot of grieving and letting go, but these old ways are not serving us. Yeah. It's not serving us as a humanity. It's not serving our planet. So we have to let go of what's not serving us in order to make room and make way for what's to come, which will hopefully be more in alignment with our soul's purpose for being here collectively.
Man, I've got so many this is a quote a minute from honestly, practice gratitude. We hold power to raise our vibration and shine light in dark places. Come on, you guys, that's just beautiful. And all of you are giving us the tools to whatever speaks to us. If we want to, learn more about astrology, if we want to learn more about our past lives and our energy, I mean, you all are just such great teachers for us to learn during this time when we have a little time to explore. So thank you so much.
So I want to thank everybody that came together today from literally all over the country. And I know that this is the first of many conversations that we'll be having, and there may be others that join us. But thank you for bringing hope to so many that need it right now. And to our fellow seekers, we hope that this conversation has answered some of the big life questions you've been asking. We're planning on talking more, as well as sharing spiritual messages, guidance, and magical encounters. Plus, we want to include you and your stories. We're in this together. We want to hear from you. Let us know what questions you have, and if there are certain topics you'd like to hear more about. Subscribe to the Seeking with Robyn channel on YouTube. You can leave comments and questions there, or visit Seeking with Robyn for more information on our Spirit Squad that you saw today, or where to find us on social. We thank you so much, and we hope that you get connected to yourself, to your family, to your friends, and to your community. Thank you.